My family missed my wedding to travel with the sister. When I called, my mom said, we couldn't cancel the trip at the last minute. I kept quiet and wrote a heartfelt message on Twitter thanking my husband's family for supporting us on such an important day. A few hours later, my parents burst in, furious that I had made them look bad. I stood at the altar, my hands clutching my bouquet so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My heart was pounding in my chest, but not with excitement. I looked around the rows of guests, searching for familiar faces that should have been there. My parents. My sister. They weren't there. At first I thought they were late. Maybe they were stuck in traffic, or maybe my mom spent too much time fussing with her hair. But the longer I stared at the empty seats, the more a sickening feeling twisted my stomach. I grabbed the phone out of my maid of honor's hand and walked away from the archway. I called my mother. She picked up the phone on the third ring. I told her the ceremony was about to begin. My voice was shaking, my nerves were breaking. And then she said it. We can't cancel at the last minute. For a moment I couldn't even process what I had just heard. What did she mean? That they couldn't cancel? And then it hit me. My sister's trip. She had been talking about it for months, excited about the planned vacation. But I couldn't imagine for a second that my parents would actually decide to go with her on my wedding day. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I could hardly breathe. My throat closed up and I had to hang up the phone before I finally lost consciousness. I turned around, tears streaming down my face. My future husband looked at me with concern. His parents were already running up to us, asking what had happened. I couldn't even speak. I just shook my head. I didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to leave, to run away and pretend that nothing had happened. My own family left me for the duration of the holiday. But then my future in-laws took my hands and their warmth grounded me. My mother-in-law whispered that I was not alone. My father-in-law nodded to my fiancé as if he already knew what to do. And somehow I found the strength to stay. The ceremony began, but I felt like I was in a dream. I smiled when I should have, said my vows without cracking my voice, and kissed my husband as the guests clapped and cheered. But inside I was numb. The empty spaces where my family should have been felt like a gaping wound that could not be ignored. My mother-in-law squeezed my hand as we walked down the aisle, as if she knew what I was thinking. At the reception, my husband's family surrounded me with warmth and love. They were happy for us, toasted to our future, and made me feel like I truly belonged with them. They saw the pain in my eyes and did their best to fill the void left by my own family. At some point during dinner, I pulled out my phone and tweeted, "Thank you to my husband's family for their support on such an important day." I didn't name my parents. I didn't need to. The message was clear. I put the phone down and decided I was done thinking about them. They had made their decision. I wasn't going to let them ruin what should have been the happiest day of my life. But the universe wasn't done with me. Because just as I was starting to enjoy life, just as I was laughing with my new family, the restaurant door opened. My mom, my father, and my sister. They were there. And they looked angry. I barely had time to react when my mother rushed towards me, her face red with rage. My father followed her, quieter but just as tense. My sister walked behind her, arms crossed, looking just as angry. I slowly stood up. The entire restaurant fell silent. My husband reached for my hand, but I pulled away and took a step forward. I wasn't afraid of them. Not anymore. My mother's voice broke the silence. "Why did you do this? Why did you humiliate us like this?" I blinked. Humiliate them? I barely had time to realize it before my sister cut in. "You make us look so bad. Everyone is talking about your stupid post." I felt something inside me snap. They weren't here to apologize. They weren't here because they were sorry for missing my wedding. They were there because they were ashamed. I looked around. My husband's family looked shocked, even disgusted. My friends stared in disbelief. The guests, some of whom barely knew me, seemed to realize that this was no ordinary family argument. I sighed slowly. Then I asked, "So let me get this straight. You missed my wedding, you left me on the most important day of my life. And you're mad at me? Because people found out." Mom scoffed. "We couldn't cancel the trip at the last minute. That was it. That was their excuse. That was all they could say in their defense." And I laughed. I really laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was crazy. Then I said the words I never thought I would say. "You are no longer my family." The room went dead silent. I saw my sister's mouth open and my father shift uncomfortably, but I didn't care. I was done. My mother's face contorted in shock. My sister laughed like I was being dramatic. My father looked at the floor, silent as always. My mother shook her head. You can't be serious. Stop acting like a child. And that was it. That was the moment I realized nothing could be saved. She didn't care that she had hurt me. All she cared about was that I had made her look bad. I took a deep breath. I'm not kidding. I turned to my husband's parents, who had stood silently beside me the entire time. This is my family now. My mother's eyes widened. My sister muttered something to herself, but I ignored her. My father moved away again, still refusing to meet my eyes. I turned to my mother. You had a choice. You chose the trip over me. I needed you and you didn't care. She laughed. That's ridiculous. I shook my head. No, it's not. I'm just finally seeing things clearly. I felt my husband's hand on my back, strong and reassuring. His parents looked at me with something I had never seen in my own: real love and respect. I had spent my whole life trying to earn my parents' approval, trying to be enough for them. But standing there looking at them, I realized something. I will never be enough for them. Not because I was unworthy, but because they were never capable of loving me as I deserved. So I did something they never expected me to do. I turned my back on them. I walked away. I returned to my seat, my hands still shaking. My mother called my name, but I didn't stop. My sister scoffed again, muttering something about me being so dramatic. My father said nothing. I sat down and my husband immediately hugged me. His mother put a gentle hand on my shoulder. His father nodded at me, quietly but supportively. Then I heard my mother's voice again, sharp and desperate. We are still your family. You can't just replace us. I turned around, finally unable to hold back. I didn't replace you. You left me. You made your choice, now live with it. Her mouth opened, then closed. My father shifted uncomfortably. My sister rolled her eyes and grabbed her phone as if she had more important things to do. And then the best part happened. The restaurant staff showed up. One of the waiters, a big guy with a serious look on his face, stepped forward. Ma'am, I have to ask you to leave. You are disrupting the event. My mother's face turned bright red. We are your family. The waiter did not flinch. Then maybe you should have acted accordingly. I bit my lip to keep from smiling. My mother pouted as she looked around for someone to take her side, but there was no one. My husband's family watched in silent disapproval. My friends shook their heads. Even some of the restaurant patrons, people who didn't even know me, looked on in disgust. For the first time, my mother seemed to realize that she had lost. My father exhaled loudly, looking exhausted. Come on, let's go. My mother looked at me one last time, but I didn't care. She hurried to the exit and my sister rolled her eyes and looked after her. My father followed, his shoulders slumped. And then they were gone. The moment the door closed behind them, the weight on my chest lifted. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I had to run after them, beg for their approval, or fix what they broke. I felt free. The restaurant was silent for a moment, the tension still lingering. Then my husband squeezed my hand and leaned in. Are you okay? I thought about it. I really thought about it. Then I nodded. Yes. I'm fine, actually. His mother smiled warmly at me. You did a great job. His father raised his glass. To a real family. The guests applauded and raised their glasses. And just like that, the mood changed. The tension disappeared, replaced by warmth, love, and celebration. And I allowed myself to enjoy it. By the end of the evening, I was laughing, dancing, and absorbing the love that surrounded me. I was not grieving for the family I had lost. For the truth was that they had never been there for me. Now I had a new family. A family that had appeared. A family that loved me for who I was. A family that put me first. And that was more than enough. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in years. No fear, no guilt, no sadness, just a quiet sense of peace. Out of habit, I checked my phone. My tweet had gone viral overnight. Hundreds of strangers were commenting, offering support, sharing their own stories of toxic family relationships, and telling me I had done the right thing. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. Then I saw the text. From my mom, I can't believe you're doing this to us. You are ungrateful. From my sister, you're so shy. Everyone talks about it. I hope you're happy. My father, the only one who remained silent during all this, sent a message. I'm sorry. I looked at him for a while but didn't answer. I wasn't sure I ever would. Instead, I put the phone down and turned to my husband who was still sleeping next to me. My real family. The one I built, not the one I was born into. I smiled to myself. This was the start of something new. Something better. And I was ready for it.